Calling to order City of Lawrence Redevelopment Commission meeting Tuesday, July 23rd. And we have a quorum. Only person we're missing is Vic 3G, who is traveling today. First on the agenda is the approval of minutes from our last meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review minutes, and is there any discussion to be had?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Next, we have the approval of claims and purchase orders for payment. Today, we have two claims totaling $25,414.25. Mr. Starnes, can you review these claims for us?
Yes. Let me see. One of these I hadn't noticed. So the initial page there is $17,414 is related to the Meyer Plastics deal. So now that that's coming online, we'll start to have debt service that will come out of that TIF area that was created. So it will ramp in accordance with the AV as it increases. We've pledged that to pay the debt service on the bonds that were issued. And then those proceeds were loaned to the project. So I think we have an initial early payment here on that bond series for Meyer Plastics, and then the Huntington National Bank charge is they are the trustee, so they get a fee. So I just want to take a second and make sure I'm clear. The $17,000 payment is an actual bond payment. The $1,200
Which bond series?
for the Meyer Plastics bonds.
Okay.
Yeah. And the $1,250 that's then on the batch register is fees to the trustee, which is Huntington Bank. Then the remaining invoices are for the my general services, and then the specific trades district additional matter that also encompasses Shadeland Avenue and the Freegee project. So those are my fees. The other two are both Meyer related. One is a debt service payment, one is a trustee payment.
Will the trustee fee be recurring?
I think so. I think that is partly their fee just to administer. What we do is we pledge the revenue that we get to the trustee, and then they make the debt service payment. So I think that's a recurring fee that was part of the overall bond deal.
Was that $1,250 accounted for in the contract? It's not something I'm familiar with.
Yeah, it was. It's one of those details it's in there because Huntington was selected as the trustee, before we issued those bonds, and that was part of the overall bond documentation. Was an agreement to route those proceeds to the trustee and their fee, and it's all in there. It's easy to overlook until they start charging you fees, but that was all contemplated and part of the coverage analysis that our municipal advisor, Jim Higgins, performed, is all the costs for the bond and then what's going to be generated by the TIF. Does that, is that covered by what we will get in revenue? So.
Thank you.
Cam, how often will we be seeing the bond service or the bond series for Meyer Plastics? How big is that, and how long will it last?
It's generally biannual, and it will essentially, we will, timed relative to the, in relation to the two property tax payments that we get per year. So what we have done, I think mechanically, in terms of operations, again, the Meyer pays its taxes. They're captured by the allocation area that we created around this project. So they all come to the Redevelopment Commission. Then in the agreement on the bonds that were issued, we agreed to take all of those revenues and just hand them to the trustee, which is what Huntington Bank is doing. Then they are contractually obligated as the trustee to use those funds to make the debt service payments on behalf of Meyer and on the construction loan. So as we get revenues, there will be an outflow to the trustee to then make those. And I think the Chase shows them being made as part of what the trustee sends us saying, I paid this on your behalf, and then here's my fee. So it shows where it goes. But when we get revenue, those 2 times a year, we will send the revenue to the trustee. And we did elect as part of that to send all that we get, so that if there's an overperformance based on the assessed value, and this would be a portion because they probably got assessed as the building was being built, and this will go up relative to the debt service payments are flat, but the AV is going from flat ground to an improved property. They got assessed in between there with some foundations probably, and then they'll be assessed again for 19 pay 20 for the whole building probably, and we'll see that go up. But we'll again just hand it to the trustee. We did elect to pay all of the revenues to the trustee, and even if there's an overperformance, that will just retire the bonds early.
Does this come out of our capital fund or the debt reserve fund?
No, this will come out of the, I think the capital fund. The debt service reserve was funded by proceeds,
Okay.
I believe. So when we issue those bonds, all the net proceeds, generally it's a year's worth of debt service is the reserve amount. And we take from those proceeds, we pay the cost of issuance, then we put those funds in reserve. And then everything else is sort of in the capital fund that goes to the trustee, comes in and goes back out to the trustee to pay the debt service, actually.
Cool.
Cam, would I be correct in saying that, like the other bonds that are served by the city and by the RDC, Jason Fenwick, the city controller, manages those bonds? Would I be correct in saying that he manages this bond as well?
The city side, yes.
Okay.
So he statutorily serves as the Redevelopment Commission's
When we see amount,
fiscal agent, and this all goes through the controller's office. Yes.
so he's really managing.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So he's
Well, another way of saying, he's got a schedule he's managing against for these bonds.
yeah. Yep, and he'll see them first, and they'll come here to ratify. But he operates in this case in conjunction with the trustee, of course, which
There's really no way, we can understand in principle what's going on. There's really no way we can tell what's exactly going on.
yeah,
It's Fenwick. Thank you.
sure.
Any discussion? Is that clear? All right, do I have a motion to approve claims and vouchers?
I make a motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
And Frank.
I
On a roll.
Almost should call each other.
Moving on to the staff report. Cam, can you go ahead and review this for us as well?
Sure, thank you. And really, all of these items relate to resolutions that are then further down the agenda, kind of in an odd order. I don't think I sequenced those well, so my fault. But starting with the Trades District, and we've got a resolution to approve the project agreement that's been tabled. I think we'll need to do that one more time, and I'll get back to you if we need a special meeting. We're close, I think, to having comments and being able to get it in a final form that you can all review and approve. If not, it will be next meeting. I literally was on the phone with the attorney for Free GRC for the 35, 40 minutes immediately prior to this meeting. We're into some details, mostly on the company's side, about how it will structure financing and building the building, which is good news for us that there's real movement there. They have an actual signed contract with a general contractor to build the building. which will be Browning. They have agreements with Current Architecture, which is here locally to do the architecture. They have agreement with Schneider, that's also here local, to do the site civil work on its behalf. So those professional contractors on the company side have been retained. I think I mentioned previously there is an opportunity zone component to this deal. The owner of the company has some capital gains that he will be investing directly through a corporate vehicle to build the building. And so I think there are accountants also working on their side to make sure that that's structured appropriately and considering all the tax implications, et cetera. So they're much in the weeds sorting that out. And the attorney and I talked today a little bit about timeline. I think we initially set the project agreement up to have a pretty quick closing because we're contributing land, and if things go awry, then we just take the property back under a reverter. There may be benefit to extending that a little bit, having the project executed, and then having a due diligence period that would be more typical to a real estate transaction that then we would close on transfer of the land at a later date in 3 months or so that there would be time to do some environmental and other due diligence, which I think either way we'll have project agreement that will step out the actual real estate terms, when the work will begin, when they anticipate occupying, but they want to be in the building by this time next year. So things will be moving pretty quickly. So it was a productive discussion, but I know that there's a desire, which makes sense, to see the next version of the agreement prior to approving and executing. So I had anticipated getting that by Friday, and I didn't, so I followed up and got to spend some time on the phone today, and I think it will be coming shortly. But I want to get that all to you to see it before you vote on the resolution. Things are very much moving in the background, but I think that will either wait for next meeting, or if there were a opportunity or an excuse to try to get together between now and then I'll get in contact with you through Mary Jo about scheduling a potential special meeting. But any questions on that? So I think obviously we know what the general deal terms are. We've essentially agreed, going back to the LOI, to contribute land, reimburse some site work costs in exchange for their new headquarters building. We know employees, and we'll have the median wages in the agreement. So none of that is going to change. We're really sorting out some of the finer points of the timing. So I'm encouraged. I met with the president and COO of the company a couple of weeks ago, and they were excited to get going. There's a lot going on their end currently, so that's all good. Meanwhile, if you recall, last time we talked about some equipment that was being staged on the 7600 Pendleton Pike property. That's belongs to E&B Paving. That is the contractor doing the paving project on 465. That is, making a lot of people very happy right now with the traffic it's creating, et cetera. They were looking for somewhere to stage equipment, given that they're paving in that area, and I think happened to talk to DPW and ask if they could park it there, and were told that they could. I talked to Mike at E&B and said, actually, you can't. We need that. It's not an emergency, but you have really kind of to the end of the month to find a new space and move off. So I know this is a hardship. It's not easy to find places to stage stuff. So I'm sorry. I know somebody told you yes, and now I'm kind of revoking that and telling you I got to find somewhere else in a pretty short order. But we have a project, and it's going to be moving forward, and so that's just kind of. And I wasn't consulted before that permission was given, and he said, "Yeah, I was surprised it was that easy." so I think he kind of thought it might be a little bit too good to be true. So he was very accommodating, and they, I think, are in the process of shifting that off. They're currently not in Freegie's Way, obviously, but I think to have them out by the end of July clears the way sufficiently. And I have sent them our standard access agreement in the meantime, and so I'll follow up and get that just even for the next couple of weeks, just to have something in place and make them add us as an additional insured in the meantime. But they were very receptive, so that's the good news. Nobody's fighting us about having to leave the spot. So just a brief update on that. Second, moving to Shadeland Avenue, and I think I've summarized this project to you before and provided some letters. We have interest in the 4423 Shadeland property from Edwards Mechanical and Electrical Service. They are based just down Shadeland on the Indianapolis side, but a sizable and growing skilled trades and construction outfit. This would be, as I think the letters make clear in my commentary, in my report to you, would be their fleet maintenance and management center, but also so utilizing sort of the existing overhead doors, and I think they're going to have to replace lifts and things, but building that out as the fleet center, and then using the front half of the building to house a training and certification program for, I think, electricians and plumbers. They previously, I think one of the owners of Edwards is involved with, owns another company or a subsidiary based in Ohio, and previously worked with the union over there to put together a training module, a program that leads to certification on a couple of trades that then they employ, that he would like to deploy here. And this would be where that would take place. So they would move some existing employees and hire some additional employees on the fleet side, but I think there's value certainly in having that pipeline of training and certification here in Lawrence. That is absolutely the highest order of business on these, in terms of growth for these trades companies. I think would be a way to continue to attract good investment in that area is to support this. So I have put a resolution on the agenda. This would just authorize essentially a contribution of the 4423 Shadeland property to that purpose. That would all get wrapped up to a project agreement that would come back to you all to approve before we went forward. This resolution gives me some latitude to send sort of a more official communication to Edwards and its counsel. I've been in contact with Edwards' attorney about this, but to be able to say, RDC has controls this real estate and it has said they would make it available for this use, and the commitments that we would want in return are a lot of what they've outlined in their letter in terms of jobs and minimum investment. So we would document that in a project agreement that then you would ratify in a resolution. So this is somewhat of a preliminary step, but I think an important authorization to allow me to take the next steps in negotiating that deal. They did initially request kind of a hybrid discounted purchase price abatement kind of thing, which we did go ahead and score through the rubric based on their employment and investment numbers. It wouldn't be a very sizable abatement, and for the amount of administrative approvals and work that it takes, I think it's simpler and probably gets to the same kind of value to contribute the land toward this purpose and not do an abatement. So I think my idea would be to steer the negotiations along the terms of, we'll contribute it, you do what you've said in your letter that you want to do, and I think we'll all be happy with the outcome. So this is kind of a preliminary step and will lead to a project agreement, but any questions about that process?
How many employees did they say they were going to be bringing in, and how many new ones are they going to be hiring?
I think bring 12, hire 10.
Okay.
Just on the fleet side, and then there would be some training staff that's assigned there, and then they would be generating new employees for the company. But I think, in my mind, gets to the part of the backbone of the trades district plan. Of course, is realizing that pipeline is a real advantage for area residents, and so part of the economic impact that we're looking to get for the city of Lawrence through enacting and implementing the trades district plan is building that pipeline to better employment opportunities and bettering the potential financial socioeconomic circumstances of Lawrence residents. And this that component is part of what would be buying here too.
We still have sufficient property for access to that other area.
Yes. So. Good point. I'm glad you brought that up because it makes sense to touch on it. The 4423 property is the old sheriff's garage. The 4399 property, which the RDC also controls, is the kind of inverse L shape that comes off of Shaylin and goes up to the southern side of that building. We did not compete that. We did not RFP that southern portion. We still own it.
Okay.
Edwards has interest in the fenced portion, which we can, I think we'll want to consider potentially including that as well, while also maintaining, a good amount of potential drive that would go to the Cato property behind it. And that would be fine. I've talked about that with Edwards' attorney. They're okay with preserving that. They just care about the little lot that's right up against the building, which makes sense that it would go with the building. It's just a weird parcel split. So I have to sort of split 4399 again and keep what we care about and be in a position to ship the rest of it up with the building.
Do they have a timeline? Yeah.
I think the timeline is they would like to get that fleet. They're crunched for fleet management space right now, so they're kind of in a hurry in that regard. But I think they would like to have that in the building and built out by early next year if they could. So the timeline, if we were to do this, get sort of some agreement on the basic terms of the deal, come back with the project agreement, maybe even next month, and then I could see them looking to close in sort of 30 to 60 days on the real estate and get going and maybe be in by end of the year, early next year. It'll be a substantial renovation of the property, so it'll take a little bit of time, but I think they're incentivized to do it for space reasons.
One other question, and the tax abatement is off the proposal, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I'd just be excited to see things happening with that building.
Yeah, I would, my ideal timeline would have it under project agreement really like a month from now that you approve at the next meeting. I'd like to have it together, approve it, execute it, have them execute it. I would imagine they want 30 to 60 days sort of due diligence under the real estate terms of that project agreement to then close on the transfer, at which point they would get underway. So I think we'd see substantial progress even in 3 to 4 months from now. A lot of it would be inside. I think they could do it over winter, unlike a exterior construction. So hopefully it moves quickly that way.
Okay.
And then moving on to another item we know is in new business, Project Plum, which I know Commissioner Brown appreciates the code name there. I think
Makes me feel cool.
I think I will say to you and can say I'm not under any NDA or other confidentiality provision. The company here is Williams Comfort Air, which is a recognizable brand and company. It also includes Mr. Plummer, and they have a couple of other subsidiaries. So a good, sizable, and visible residential skilled trades contractor is currently in Carmel, looking to move, needs more space, has identified a property on 59th Street that would be a good sort of industrial to trades transition. And their project plans call for building out a substantial portion of that industrial building into office. That'd be their business office, call center, dispatch, all that stuff would be housed there. They would have some warehouse space for dry storage. They may lease some of that space for a period of time, but all their fleet would be there, et cetera. I think they currently, including installers, have close to 400 employees, and are also, I had a chance to meet with the president one-on-one, which was great. I was impressed by him, and he talked a lot about things that I think are near and dear to our hearts with regard to the Trades District Plan. Talked about pipelines to employment for secondary, post-secondary education, reentry, so sort of second, third career pathway to a career in skilled trades. Cares a lot about that. They have a training module that they implement as well that would take place, that they would house in their space if they were to move here. And also just a lot about the viability of trades as a productive career path that can, the education just as to the viability there. And, I think that dovetails well with some of the message that we're hearing from the Construction Roundtable and the Construction Roundtable Foundation and McKinsey Career Center and other vocational centers that are looking to broaden kind of horizons beyond typical four-year degree college thing and helping even students in secondary and even middle school realize that skilled trades is a potential career path that's out there that could be productive. So he's president of the company is engaged in that conversation, and I think would be a good visible kind of citizen in that regard. So I was excited about the interest. I think the real estate is what attracted them here initially, but we also got a good referral from my friends down at Redevelopment that know that Lawrence has this trades district plan. And I believe we talked last time about their program with Employee Indy and this training grant setup whereby the funds are deployed to Employee Indy and then drawn down when the training actually occurs. So you're directly funding actual training activities. Going back to the Edwards conversation, we know that's a very important component of the Trades District Plan. So the ask here really is a $75,000 training grant that would literally directly fund training activities as an incentive to have the company relocate and bring its employees and its headquarters here to Lawrence. So that seemed to us to be very consistent with what we hope to see happen and incentivize. And so I was happy to bring it to you all under the terms of this resolution to say, let's step into the shoes of the documents I circulated are set up for the city of Indianapolis. We will reform those so the city of Lawrence will be the funder. Employee Indy will be the direct partner in doing what they do to help the company. And that would be the pitch is we'll incentivize you through this training grant. So that's why the resolution is before you. I think I've summarized that all to you previously, but any questions or comments on that one? Apart from the code name, which is cute.
I'd just like to say it's a job well done. I think it's a perfect mix of what we're trying to accomplish with the Trades District and bringing in a name like Williams Comfort Air. They're been in business a long time. It's got a great reputation. Yeah. Doesn't mean everything will go swimmingly, but at least we're on the right track, and I think it's a job well done. So
good. Yeah, I'm certainly excited. If you're familiar with their current location, it's in an area where they're certainly don't feel wanted or like a good fit, and kind of are under a lot of space pressure in general, but also know that any efforts to expand in place are not going to be well received by the community where they are now, which maybe just is not the right spot, but I think that's unfortunate. And I was glad that we could demonstrate to the company that it's a sector of the economy that we value and are really looking to pursue and realize that it could have substantial positive economic benefit to the city of Lawrence. So it was a good fit in that regard, and I think we had a good sort of common ground on sort of that aspect of a potential move. So I think it cemented his thought that Lawrence would be a good fit. He knows they'll be celebrated here in a way that they're not currently, and that will help them grow. So
will the ICRF be a part of it, or they just are supporting it? The Roundtable Foundation, sorry.
No, I just mentioned them in terms of what some of the conversation is about. Okay. Secondary education, reentry, and a lot of the work that you're well familiar with that they do. The president of Williams and I talked a lot about those issues, and I think he was very on board and was anxious to meet with McKinsey Career Center folks and maybe build some bridges that way and make connections that could be helpful both directions. So I was encouraged by just his overall purview on training and pipeline and how he sees his company growing and fitting into the community.
Cool. I just want to make sure there wouldn't be any perceived conflict of interest or
No.
anything in there either.
No.
So,
Not-
okay.
Not a direct involvement.
Okay.
And I didn't check to see if they're a member or engaged or whatever, but a lot of the talking points were similar, so.
Okay.
So, any further questions, comments about that, how that will go? So, good. We also scored this, the Project Plum. I worked with the development to kind of score this for an abatement. They're just in case, when I met with the president, he kind of hinted about it, but I've also talked to, company has an economic development consultant with KSM location advisors. There are these groups out there. I don't know that we've really dealt with one that will help companies act as quasi brokers, but also look to secure incentives for company moves. So they have one of those that's working for the company. I spoke with her just last week, and they're not formally requesting an abatement anyway. They're really focused on the training grant as something that is meaningful to them anyway. So we've left that off the table, and I think this would be the main. This would go in an offer letter and say, we'll do a $75,000 training grant if you move here. Great. I think that does it for the staff update. Well, one small thing I'll mention, I said last time, I think it was last time we were selected to receive a new EPA assessment grant. We have back-end processes that I'm working on, work plan, application, formal application materials, but all of that's on track. So I think we're headed still toward funding availability in September or October.
Good.
All right, moving on to new business, which we've kind of covered a little bit. But everyone has received the resolutions. Cam, do you have any comments on these resolutions?
I don't think so. Like you said, I tried to cover it a little bit in the staff report, so everybody's aware of what's up. So I don't think I have anything to add, absent questions from you all.
Just so you guys know, for the minutes on the, they're
Right.
backwards, resolution
Yeah,
4.
5
resolution
is,
5.
yeah,
Okay.
gotcha.
Thank you.
5 is 4 and 4 is 5.
Get it.
Commissioners, you got this a few days ago. Has everyone had a chance to read it, review it? Questions, comments, concerns?
I'm good with it.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved?
Just to clarify, we're moving to Resolution 4-2019, which is the Williams Comfort.
Which is the Williams Comfort.
Oh, okay. I'm looking at the wrong one. Okay.
I think we should go in order. Very good.
Motion to approve the Williams Comfort Air.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Who made the motion? Was it Ally or?
Ally.
Ally.
Okay, thank you.
I did.
All right, and then motion to approve resolution, it's getting confusing, 4-219,
Be 5
5-219.
for 4423.
Yeah. So moved?
Do I have a second?
Second.
Move second, all in favor?
All in favor?
Thank you.
Good job, you guys.
I'm really, really, really excited about these.
Thank you. This is great stuff.
Okay.
It takes so long to get anything done. When it happens, you say, hooray.
And Cam, in old business, I think you made the suggestion to approve tabling this one again. Does anyone have any comments or concerns on that?
On one?
Old business, Resolution 1.
As
19.
discussed, we're tabling it
Yeah.
until the project agreement is finalized,
Yeah.
which is projected, to be next
Next meeting.
again. And
Yeah, can I have a motion to approve the tabling?
motion to table, I would make a motion to table the resolution number 1, 2019, until such time as we can review the project agreement as we had previously discussed.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Is there any other business to come before the commission?
I just want to reiterate that I'd like to see the interest at some point. I know I've brought it up each meeting, just the interest on our accounts to
Yeah,
make
I
sure.
don't have an answer on that yet. Let me,
It's okay.
let me go ahead and,
Again, I just want to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. So,
yes. Thank you. While I'm thinking of it, I'll send that note.
Jim, can you bring us like 3 or 4 projects like this every month? Would be awesome.
Sure. Always the goal.
Very good, very good.
Really good job.
Do we have any other business?
Just one comment. I would like to commend DPW's work on Sunnyside. That road is really nice now.
Very nice. Very smooth.
Since I have complained about it.
It was needed, and we knew it was coming.
It says, not good job.
Yeah, no, it's very nice.
That's good.
Right, if there is no other business, meeting is adjourned.
Motion?